And welcome. It is 9 o'clock on the dot. And hi, this is Dr. Victoria Boyd, and I am here to present to you Google Ad Grant Training. This is training that I've had on my to-do list for quite some time now, and I am excited to bring it to you. There's a lot of content that needs to be covered, so I hope you have a pencil and paper to take down some notes. If you want to get the replays, that's a VIP upgrade. You will be sent information about that after this training. Just to let you know, Google Ad Grant training will be presented every other month on the second Wednesday. Because I get so many questions about Google Ad Grants, I'm going to make sure that this training is available. And then on the alternate months, on that second Wednesday, I'm going to be doing training related to Google Ad Grants, such as lead magnets or content or how to write a blog and things like that. Those will be much shorter trainings, about 30 to 45 minutes, but I want to make sure that you have all of the information that you need. So let's get started with Google Ad Grant training. This is just an introduction. And what I need you to do is to first ask a question before you even apply for your Google Ad Grant. What is it that you need? What do you need to look for? As with any grant, you always have to look at what is the grantor requesting, and you start gathering all of that information. In the nonprofit sector, we call that getting your house together, having all of the information they need for that particular grant. And even though the Google Ad Grant is really simple to get, your website is the key thing that you need to have ready. Is your website working for the organization? This is a question, even if you don't have a Google Ad Grant or aren't interested in it. Is your website working for your organization? Because if it's not, you'll be letting $10,000 go to waste, especially with the Google Ad Grant. But your website is the cornerstone of the organization. It does your marketing, your fundraising, and so much more. And literally, it should be the road where all things lead to. That means your social media, emails, the ad campaigns, they all should be leading back to your website. So what that means that your website should have essential content that they need to find. If everything's going back there, what is it that they need? First of all, your website will help create credibility and trust because you're going to post some content that builds that credibility, talks about who you are. You're going to make sure that it's a cost-effective and efficient communication cycle. You can post anything on website. Websites have the ability to create as much content as you need. And it's a cost-effective way. You're not buying ads or different platforms that you need. It's also gives you the competitive advantage. If your website is really working for the organization, you're going to be a whole lot better than about 75% of the other nonprofits out there. I've come across many nonprofits that tell me that their only digital presence is on social media platform. I'll talk about that much more. Your website gives you global reach, especially if you're answering questions that people are asking. They'll come from anywhere to find your website. Your website can help you with data collection and analysis, because if you use the tools that are available, you can check your website monthly to see what pages our visitors are visiting, what are they accessing. All of this will give you information to make informed decisions. Of course, it provides visibility and awareness, because when people are looking for you, they look for your website first. And that's why it's so vital. You can create community building. And I know a lot of us think about using those social media groups and platforms, but you can create on your website where people are coming to your website to participate in what you have going on. You want to get them on your website first. You can do impact reporting. It's so important that you let your constituents or those that you're trying to influence to and let them become aware of what you're doing. Giving them an impact report really lets them see that you are doing good in the community. And those can be regular updates. It could be via a blog. It can be in your newsletters. There's so many ways that you can do impact reporting. You can provide education and advocacy. And a lot of this, you think of it as just giving resources, but you can really leverage this education and advocacy on your website to really work for you. And the biggest things that you want to happen are, of course, you want people to become engaged with your organization. That is the first step to increasing your fundraising, which is the second thing. If you have all of these other things in place on your website, it will enhance and enrich your fundraising efforts. So on your website, is the focus on the right strategies? Too often I see where organizations are just using their website as a placeholder. And what I mean by that they really didn't worry about having or looking at strategically what their content is, but they just got the URL and said, okay, I'll just get our mission statement up there and a donate button. That's called a placement holder. You're just trying to hold a place on the internet so that if somebody actually Googles or puts in your exact web address, your domain, they'll find you. But the problem with that is they'll have to have the exact domain. And you want your reach to be much bigger than that. You want people to come to your website for resources, to answer their questions. And so you want to look at, you have so many options. Where do you start? Where do you want to go? Once again, I said, all roads lead to your website. And you'll see this image over and over today because it is a key concept that I want you to always keep in the back of your mind when you're creating things for your website. Your social media. Yes, you need to have a social media presence because so many people are used to that. That they're just used to being on social media. So yes, have a social media presence. But you also want to be able to contact your audience, your target audience via email. And through those emails, you should lead people back to your website so they can access information. And of course, the Google Ad Grant campaigns, all of those must go back to your website. And I'll talk more about the compliance and instructions for all of that. But remember, Google Ad Grant campaigns are dependent on your website. And if those ad campaigns are successful, it's the content on your website that is going to drive that. I'll repeat that again. Google Ad Grant campaigns are dependent on what is on your website. So let's make sure that you have an efficient and effective website. So why did we start talking about websites? Like I just said, Google Ad Grants, the success of them, and even how you measure it, you're going to look at different pages on your website. And so success is driven by the website's content. And you'll hear during this presentation, the word content over and over again. It can't be fluff. It has to be valuable content. So I've looked at many websites, and I'm going to list the top website flaws that I see. And that's probably me sitting there with my hand on my head, looking at their website. Generally, when an organization or individual contacts me, I do a search and look for their website. Like if they send me an email and it's at a certain URL, I actually take that URL and try to find their website. Too often it leads to non-existent. It's just, they're just using that business email for their own email purposes, but they don't actually have a website connected to it. But a lot of times it will take me to a website. And that's how I know that so many websites were just created to be placeholders. So that's the very first thing. You built the website just to be a placeholder, to say that you have a digital presence. That's not good enough. I'll tell you that right now. Doesn't work for the organization. And I mean, that website should be working for you. This is one of the few tools or platforms that you don't have to have staff actually doing time devoted to a task. If your website has the correct tools and resources available, it can be on autopilot. People can find it, get what they need, and be happy and love your organization. So if the website is working for you, that means it has all of the systems and strategies in place to give visitors what they need. Doesn't have the right content. And I'm actually going to be presenting a full presentation or training just on content, the different types of content, how to build it out. But that is something strategically you really need to put as a priority. What content do you have? And it's really not what you might think. It's not about you, the organization. It's more about what is your audience looking for. Many websites don't really utilize the effective tools correctly. You know, you might say, oh yeah, we have a CRM. We have, you know, we're collecting emails. They opt in to do this. But it's what happens after that. Are you sending automated emails once they signed up? Are you following up? Are you using Google Analytics and Tag Manager to get reports and data to assess how you're doing so that you know what direction to go in the future? So there's some tools out there you want to make sure that you have in place. And there's some tools that Google requires. And I'll be talking about those. And then doesn't focus. What I mean by that, sometimes you're providing way too much information. Many websites, they feel as if they have to have everything on the front page and everything they're doing right there. What happens when a visitor comes to a website like that, they get lost and they stop looking for what they were looking for. It's too complicated. So I'm going to talk about different strategies so that you can keep your visitors focused on what they're looking for, and it will benefit you as an organization, and it will help the visitors that are looking for that information. So these are some of the top website flaws that I see consistently over time. But why is that so important? Once again, I said a website is the cornerstone of operations and marketing. This is where you can have it function and work for you by having volunteers sign up on forms, having donations accepted on digital platforms, with your calendars and events. You can have registration, you can have just how to find it, what time it is, where it is. There's so many things that can help your operations and your marketing that once again can relieve your staff of using their time devoted to taking phone calls and doing things like that. Let them focus on your mission and let your website work for you to take over a lot of those operations. And most organizations just aren't leveraging the website. You have so many different ways that you can leverage what you're doing on your website with other organizations and through your ad campaigns. Okay, so these are the important elements of why your website is so critical to the whole Google Ad Grant process, the application and implementation. I haven't even introduced me. Here's a little bit about me. I have over 40 years in the nonprofit sector. Even though I started out as an educator and did that for a long time, concurrent to that, I have been president, executive director. I have formed, merged, even closed nonprofits. I'm an author. I wrote the book Board Bound Leadership, Webinar Secrets, and several other books. I'm a trainer. I've been doing training forever. That is my passion and my heartbeat. And I'm a consultant for the nonprofit sector. As a trainer, I taught nonprofit management at UNLV for 8 years, and that was after I retired from education. So it's a little secret that shows how much passion I have for training and for the nonprofit sector. And marketing content is a specialty. Because I am an author and I write a lot, content is such a big part of your marketing strategies that I've become a marketing content specialist. Writing the language, reviewing the language, and assessing, is the content really having an impact? And I believe marketing is key to increase donations, because generally the first question I get from a nonprofit is, how can you help us raise funds? And I go back to, what are you telling them? What is your content? How are you communicating with those? I even have a trainer called Super Donor Framework, which talks about individual donors and how to attract them and retain them. So all of these are focused on believing in marketing as a key to increase donations. And I am the founder of the Philanthropreneur Foundation, and we focus on education, awareness, and resources. That's enough about me. Let's get back to why Google Ad Grants. And it's surprising because they're so easy to get. I'm really surprised at the data that only 4.3% of the nonprofits in the entire United States actually use them. And I think I have found that, first of all, some of them report that they just don't understand it. It's too complicated. And it's generally on the back end, and it's managing those ad grants. I have to admit, Philanthropreneur Foundation, initially when we first got ours, we had many ads denied because we just didn't understand the whole concept of how to run ads. Now that's an entirely different training, and that will be coming up in future months. But right now, I want you to get prepared, and we're going to talk about strategies, and we're going to come back to those strategies at the end after we go through just what is a Google Ad Grant. First of all, why you want to pay attention to Google. Every month, there's 89.3 billion searches on the Google platform. It competes with Bing and Yahoo and all of those other search engines. But what makes it crazy is that it has 91.9% of the market share. So 91% of the people, whenever they're going to do a search, they don't go to Bing or Yahoo, they go to Google. And so that you know that most of the people searching for you will be on Google. And guess what? That's where you also need to be. We're also going to talk about, if 93% of the people start there, why aren't you there? Now, this is what a Google ad looks like. It looks like that frame came up twice, but anyway, what Google ads do, they put you at the top of the page. They show the word ad next to it. That's where the paid searches are. And the paid searches get faster results and attracts audiences with high intent, because these ads are addressing exactly what they put into their search. That's why it's so important that you understand what language, what content to use when you're developing your ad campaigns, when you're mapping those out. Now, many people say, oh, we'll just build it organically. And that's fine. You don't have to pay for anything. But with the Google Ad Grants, you're not paying for it anyway. But it takes time because the ads will be placed first, and all organic results come second. For Google Ads, it is a text-only format. And that's the example that you see here. It's an ad with nothing but text. They use keywords, and it's not generally, but it is directed back to your website. The links that are found in these ads go back to websites. So for a nonprofit with the ad grant, instead of it being a .com, it would be a .org. It would be your website that would be listed there. As you see, there's not a lot of content there. That's why it's crucial that you understand what is your audience looking for and what keywords are you going to look at. So these are the types of ad that Google will provide for you. What is it? Google started this ad grant platform way back in 2003. So it's been around for 20 years. And the first grant went to the March of Dimes, but it has become a part of their business model. Just like you recognize Google Gmail and Maps and things like that, the ad grant platform was formed early on in its business development, and it is a major part of its business model. That means they dedicate a lot of time and energy to what's happening with their Google ad grants. It is for any designated 501c3 organization. That means you have to have received your determination letter from IRS. You have that official letter. And they provide you with $10,000 per month in free ad credits, which actually is $330 per day. And that's how they disperse it, on a per day ratio. Google's goals are to increase your reach. They're trying to help you as an organization to expand your capacity so that you can do more, to improve your marketing efforts, because you might have heard me say it before, many organizations think that fundraising is your #1 challenge. Actually, marketing is your #1 challenge. And then finally, to help you increase the impact. And isn't that the bottom line of what you want to do? Isn't that what your mission is all about, is having impact in the community? Google wants to help you achieve that. So some unique features about the Google ad program. First of all, in the nonprofit sector, whenever we hear about grants, we think, oh, I got to go up against all these other organizations and fight for the money, and whatever pool of money is, if we get chosen, we get a part of it. No, Google is a non-competitive grant. That means if you apply and you meet the prerequisites, you get the funding, you get that money. You just have to make sure that you have all the prerequisites. There is no deadline. You can apply for it anytime, any season of the year, whenever you think about it, whenever you're ready, you can apply for it. And there's no penalty for going over or under using the grant money. And that's unusual, because many grants, you have to submit a final assessment and show how you spent much of the money and where it went and receipts. And often they will ask you to return funds if you didn't use it all. And at some grant cycles, you're scrambling at the end of that cycle to make sure you have spent all the funds. And so you can't strategically really think about, are you spending it wisely? There's no penalty for that. If you don't spend it, as long as the compliance is in place, your funding will continue. And one of the key things that many people don't talk about, if you happen to go over your $10,000 per month payment and ad space credits, if you do it on a consistent basis, they will increase your payments, or they will increase your grant amount. We've seen it go from 10,000 to 40,000 per year. So don't worry about underspending, just get started. Start those ad campaigns. So like I said, it's non-competitive, no application deadline. Budgets are 350, daily allotments. It doesn't roll over, and you can't bank funds. And faith-based organizations are eligible if you are registered as a 501c3. And I make that distinction because many churches have formed, but they never registered. And just because they took and called and are designated as a church or a religious organization, they're actually grandfathered and granted the 501c3 benefits. But unless you have actually submitted an application and have that designation letter, you cannot apply for this grant. If you need to get your 501c3, please reach out to me. That is one of the services that I provide, is helping people get their 501c3. So benefits again, and I'll keep driving this in. And these are the benefits of a Google Ad Grant. You'll have increased online visibility. When someone searches for your cause, your whatever you have, what they need, you'll show up. You can do precise targeting. That means you can identify who it is that you want to talk to. Next one, measurable results. That's so important, because you need to start really measuring what are people really looking for on your website. What is really providing exposure for you? Are they asking you questions of they need more of this? If you see it's a hot topic, maybe you need to provide more information on that. You'll see immediate results, especially if your ad campaigns are structured correctly. People will start coming to your site to see what it is and gather the information that they're looking for. Brand awareness, big, big, big issue. If you attended my Super Donor Framework training and challenge a couple of weeks back, I talked about awareness, that if nobody knows you, how are you even going to ask them to be a donor? So that is the first step of even getting people into your pipeline. Brand awareness. Flexible budgeting. Basically, you're getting $10,000 of free ad credits, but you do need to create a budget of managing it, because most of your staff will not know how to do that. And there's ways to get support, but you need to create a budget for managing your ad grants. Remarketing opportunities. That's where you can have an ad and just keep doing it and placing it over and over again, reaching out to more constituents, remarketing to the same constituents. There's different ways that you can have all of these opportunities with remarketing. Ad extensions. That means you can create ad campaigns with different extensions and going back to your organization. Mobile reach. Everybody's saying you got to be mobile. And even when I'll start talking more about the website, that it needs to be mobile friendly. That means when you look at it on tablets or a phone, that the format is not misconstrued or just actually thrown totally off where you can't even read the words. So it needs to, you need to have it as that this will create mobile reach, because they automatically go into those sectors for you. Competitive advantage. Many people don't think about that. Remember, I said earlier that only 4.3% of organizations used Google Grant. So if you're one of those organizations that is using a Google Grant, right there, you have a competitive advantage over all of these other organizations. And we all know you are not the only organization with your mission. You might state it that way, but I'm sure you realize there's many organizations that rescue animals, you know, what I call the warm and fuzzy organizations. So it's about creating that competitive advantage by being present in Google searches. Supporter engagement. It helps you reach them because they're searching for a specific topic, and your cause generally is a topic that many people will search for. And so when they find it through a Google Ad Grant, you can help them become engaged. They're already a supporter of your cause. Now you want to have them engage with your organization. Then there's data-driven decision-making. I mentioned earlier that with Google Analytics and Tag Manager, you're going to get a report on exactly what is working and what is not. And so then that helps you make decisions moving forward. Keep this ad going, tweak this ad, oh, this one's not doing that well. You can make great decisions. And finally, community building. And that's always something that we want to see happen when we're building out things. Some benefits that you as an organization can recognize. And the previous list was what Google has listed as what they call their benefits. But first of all, you want to be seen and you want to be heard. Excuse me. That is a primary foundation of your marketing strategies. You want to be found, and you have to have a digital presence. And this Google grant will help you do that. Otherwise, you have to get out there and post on social media and do all of these, what I call regular tedious tasks. With a Google ad grant, once you set up ad campaigns, they're running consistently. You don't have to go in and do a repost and schedule posts and things like that. They will run consistently until you stop them. So you're going to get exposure. You're going to have more exposure from your social media presence. You can use the hashtags. You can talk about cause marketing. You can't use images for Google ad grants because they're text only, but you can send them to a place on your website that has images. Your marketing, you can now plan out your strategies for a whole year. You can tell your story. You can use landing pages. You can use funnels. All of these are capable and you can doable with Google ad grants. And you can provide value. Use that content marketing concepts. Provide opportunities for them to engage. And please, please do more than just ask for money. Give them opportunities and ways to be engaged. Okay, now let's get back to some of the techie stuff and nitty-gritty stuff of a Google ad grant. And it's about how do you keep the grant? Because as you know, with many grants, they either have an ending period or they just stop, or it's usually for a set amount of money. But a Google ad grant is for perpetuity. Once you're allowed and given the grant, it will go on and on and on as long as you stay compliant. And they use what is called a pay-per-click model. If you've ever done any type of ads, you know that pay-per-click is the platform that many organizations use. So what you want to do is understand what that means. They look, and you will be compliant if you have what is called a 5% conversion rate. That is a click-through rate. They call it both conversion and click-through rate. And so you want to make sure that you maintain that. And that is based on the quality of your ad campaigns. Are you using keywords? Are you really targeting specific audiences? This is something that could be an entire training. So this is about as much as I'm going into that. But in terms of how much each click, when I say a pay-per-click model, the average click is about $2.73. So you want to get so people are clicking. And what I mean, that is they're just clicking your ad that takes to your website. What happens over there, Google's not really analyzing and counting. They just want to see that your ad is sending people to your website. So once you have and maintain that, that is wonderful. But what happens is with that compliance, there's actually a high learning curve because you have to really understand ad placement, ad creation. The concept is simple, but knowledge of ad account implementation requires expertise. And that's why, like I said, there's going to be more training on just some of those aspects, but I don't want to get into that. I'm looking at what it is you need before you even get started with the Google ad grant, what it is, because there's no sense of applying if you don't have your website together. So Google ad placement, they really were designed for professional digital marketers, and most of your nonprofit staff is not a digital marketer. They didn't come there for that. So I don't want you to worry about that, because at the end, once again, there's ways that you can get support with that through Philanthropreneur Foundation. So let's not worry about that. Let's just make sure that we have what you need, because there are some challenges. The complexity of the platform, as I just mentioned, there's so many small details that you need to understand. You need to understand how to read keyword planning and the different types of keyword implementation. I said, your staff was not trained. That's not their expertise. So there's no staff with expertise in Google Ads. Don't understand keyword application. To me, all of these things are understandable because that is not what you do. That is not the focus or mission of your organization. And then finally, here's one that you can control. You're not allocating sufficient budget for marketing. And this is truly should be under your marketing umbrella. You look at it as 10K free money, but still it should be a part of your marketing strategies, and a budget, a line item budget should be assigned it. So what else do you need? And these are the technical specifications required even before you apply. And this goes back to the website. I'll keep going back to this website. The website must be owned by the organization, a .org extension. There's many people that, because they're easy, and I understand, but you go to Wix or Squarespace or any of those web builders, but what happens is you're a subdomain of their platform. So it might say Wix / and then your organization name. You should own the domain, and it should be a .org, and you should have your own organization website that you own. That's what they're looking for. Google, that is one of the very first things they look at. Do you own your website and the domain, .org domain? It needs to have SSL certification, that is the secure encryption, that it should be HTTPS, then your organization name, just like I have an example there. That means when you have the S there, that means your website is SSL encrypted. Now, there's also a new one that's called a validated organization, OVS. You have to pay a little bit more with that because most host servers will provide you with an SSL certification for free as a part of their packaging. The OVS, and I recommend it for nonprofit organizations because you are accepting payments via your website. And the OVS gives you a higher level of certification and security because they acknowledge that you are accepting funds across your website. And then finally, some of the technical on that website, you have to have Google Analytics and Tag Manager installed. This is all back-end stuff. Some of these things you might have never heard because you might have just created the website and was only thinking about what is the logo, what is our mission statement, and what do we do? This is all back-end techie stuff that you need to have in place before. So once again, you might have to ask your web developer, do you have all of this? At the end of this presentation, I'll be telling you about what we can do in terms of an assessment to see, do you have all of these things in place? Excuse me. Now, the application process, I'll say it again, it's really simple. It is multiple steps, but it's simple to do. You get what is called a TechSoup certification. TechSoup has become the organization that is recognized as being the certification platform. You will apply to them and they will actually check to make sure that you are a 501c3 and issue you a certification key. Excuse me. And then once you have that certification key, then you can go join up and sign up for a nonprofit account with Google. Google has nonprofit accounts and you just set it up. And through that, they give you a lot of free services, and it's something that you want to look into, even if you don't apply for the Google Ad Grants. Once you have those two things in place, then you are given access to the Google Ad Grant application process. And that's when you get your grant approval. But you have to set up those first two things first before they will even open up the portal to get to the application. Once you are approved, then you set up your Google Ad account. That is where you will set up and create your ad campaigns. And that's where Google will give you the credits. That's where the credits will be. And as click-through comes through, it will count down. You're not paying for anything over there, but that is how Google is registering or accounting for the funds and credits that are used. So the application process, like I said earlier, it's pretty simple. It's all the other stuff that you have to think about. And that's where thinking strategically, you have to start before you even get the Google ad grant. That's why I talked so much about your website before, because you're now strategically going to build out campaigns based on what's on your website. And I always, I like my little images here. There's two components for success: your ad campaigns and your website content. They're both important, but if you think about it, your website can run without the ad campaigns, and that's where everything is going. All roads lead to your website. So you want to consider that, even though they're both important, put the priority on your website because it will function without it. Now, here's a few tips on following ad campaign best practices. Have a well-defined goal. What are you trying to accomplish as an organization? Please don't always make it fundraising. Building community, engaging, getting volunteers, expanding or disseminating more resources. Those are all well-defined goals. Know and write, that should be ANSI. Got to do some editing here. Know and write for your target audience. Know your target audience. That's key. Who is your target audience? You find that out, and I'll show you in just a minute how to write for them. Understand and optimize keywords and focus on specific action. A lot of, I'll say, social media posts and things like that, the post will say, go visit our website. That's too generic. So people get to your website, what are they looking for then? Generally, they'll stay 2 or 3 seconds. If they don't see what they actually are looking for, they're gone. If you focus on a specific action, you're sending them to exactly what they were looking for, and they don't have to search for them. And they find satisfaction and they look at you as a valuable resource. So those are some things to think about, because the key performance indicators are how you're going to get those results. And that's how you're going to be counting. Are you getting the results? So you have to have those 4 things to get those results. Content is key. I keep saying this over and over again, but it is. Content is key. And most organizations haven't really strategically thought about the content that they're sharing. Understandably, you want to talk about your mission and what you're trying to do. Ultimately, you want to look at what does your audience need to understand what you're doing. We can't jump to the end of that road before we give them a full package of awareness. So, thinking strategically, number 1, what does your audience need? Do you know what they need? Have you ever asked them what they need? What are they searching for? Do you know that? And there's 2 key tools that you can use to find that out. First of all, Google's ads provide you with a keyword planner. You can put in some keywords that you think that they're looking for, and it will give you a whole database. Now, once again, how to use this is a whole nother training. I just want to tell you about the tools that are out there that even Google Grant Best Practices recommends. And they tell you to use the keyword planner. Another tool is called Answer the Public. I happen to love this particular tool because what you do is you put in a phrase or a topic that you think they're looking for. And as you can see in this graph, I know it's sort of blurred because it is so much information on there, but they give you a whole wide range of different ways to ask the question, how other people are asking the question. Those that are highlighted in the dark pink are actually high level. That means many people are asking that question in that format. And it can really start you thinking about how to position your questions and your ads. So those are two great tools to find out what are people looking for within your different area. So then you want to value this and the leverage of what you're doing here. Investing time in the tools that you're using, or actually getting tools that you need, and the key word there is invest. Yes, we always look for free stuff, but sometimes you have to invest in the organization to get what you really need. Because when you leverage what you have, and you'd be surprised how much stuff you really have that you can leverage, that will really lead to a lot of gain. Not only via money, but you can gain in followers, advocates for you. You can create super donors that will be one of your best loyalty and advocates out there, speaking on your behalf, raising money for you. So all of these things, how you can leverage who you are and what you need. How to do that? Oh, sorry. I need to go back there. I'm sorry. I will edit this out of. Okay, so that was leveraging and how to solve the problem. And I always say create a lead magnet. Many people don't know what a lead magnet is. It's where you have focused on one problem. That means, let's say, okay, let's say it's not always a problem, but it's maybe a resource. A lead magnet, and I'll make this really simple. Let's say you have a newsletter. Now, in your newsletter, you are probably, hopefully, providing resources, an update on your events coming up and things like that. You can create an ad campaign that leads to your newsletter, generally on your site. But if you put your newsletter on what is called a landing page and make it the lead magnet, then now you know and can measure exactly what that visitor was looking for, that they came there specifically for that newsletter. Now, if you just send them back to your website, the main page where they then reach and go on different pages to find material, you don't know exactly what they were looking for. They might go to find out or get distracted and go and say, oh, they have other resources beside this newsletter. Let me go check those out first. But a lead magnet helps you understand exactly what they're looking for. Now, on a lead magnet page, you're capturing their email. Very simple. It has whatever it is they're looking for, and then they put in their name and email and click a button and have access to that. What value is that to you? Hey, you now have their name and their email. And that is the first step in creating and building engagement and creating a journey for them to become one of your biggest supporters. So that is what a lead magnet does. Now, the landing page with the lead magnet, this is like you're in the science lab and you're creating all of these strategies. But it has three components. First, the trigger. What is the challenge or problem that they're trying to solve? That is, what were they searching for? That comes back to asking them or looking at your audience, what do they know? That goes back to understanding who your audience is. All of these, you will understand and learn what is their trigger? What challenge or problem are they looking for? That gives you the information to provide how to solve it. Now that becomes your lead magnet. We're going to do this with this. Here's the information to solve that challenge, that trigger. And how they get it is called the call to action. Click this button to download. It's really that simple. Trigger, solve the problem, call to action. Now, to make those effective, I said focus on one topic. It's visitor friendly. They're getting exactly what they were looking for. They don't have to wonder, where do I find it? Or if you're like me, you go on a website and you start going down rabbit holes and you forget why you even went there. Find what they need right away. They will appreciate that. People, especially if they're on their phone, they will only spend 3 to 4 seconds looking for something before they go someplace else. More likely to opt in because they're focused, they see exactly what they need, and they go, oh, there it is, click, and it's done. This all happens so quickly. That's why you have to stay focused on one topic. Finally, the benefit for you is that you know exactly what they need. Therefore, any further communication with them, you can speak to that. Oh, we saw that you downloaded the resource guide on diets, or the resource guide on having exercise with this different illness or something. You can do follow-up and ask them, how's it going? Do they have questions? Start building a relationship because you know exactly what they need. And with that, you can measure results. You can see, for example, I have a 15 fundraising strategies e-guide. It's a downloadable, and I know that it's highly popular because my data shows that. It shows that people are clicking and downloading it all the time. So I'm like, I'm not changing that one. That ad is working, and so I'm going to keep it going. Now, some others I've had to tweak or even say, well, nobody even wants that. So I either need to change the topic, the title, or how it's focused. But that's the type of data that you need. So let's talk about some lead magnet ideas. These are just helpful tips for you to think about, because I'm pretty sure most of you don't have lead magnets on your website right now, not consciously. So you can do some generals: checklist, calendar, a cheat sheet, resource list, inspiration. All of these really don't take a lot of time for you to do. But if you see that they're looking for those things, but at least have them available. And then you can also provide educational content. This is what really drives a lot of traffic, that educational content, especially e-guides or e-books. Infographics, doing a webinar. I'm doing a webinar right now. Reports. Every year you're supposed to post your annual report. But a report could be dealing with the industry itself, trends and challenges within the industry, changes, new products, new services. So those could be included in the report, or it could be a whole statement of new research and things like that. These are all ideas. I also have what is called 71 magnet ideas. Once again, if you want to download that, I'll be putting that in the Facebook group in the next, after this session is over, within the next few days. I'll be posting all of these resources. So let's look at and recap what we've been talking about here. First of all, Google ad grants are $10,000 in free ad credits. They're easy to get, but need skills and knowledge to run campaigns. Therefore, the learning curve might be high. You might have to do some research on just how to create them. Or, first of all, not dedicate staff time to that at all and let the experts do it for you, or an outside organization handle all of that for you. A prerequisite, once again, and key to success is your website. Your website and its content will drive success. So you need to strategically think about that content and what it can do for you. You need to remember all roads lead to your website. It is an important asset. Don't think of it as a placeholder. It's more than that. It should be your hub of your operations and everything you do and work for you. It should drive success for your organization. So put more energy or thought into your website because it is so important. The right content is key. That is how you're going to get them to click that button and come and look at you as the authority, as the resource, as the go-to organization for everything they need. But you got to learn what they need. And then once they access it, make sure you have the ability to follow up so that you can start the relationship and building that journey of building awareness and donors and all of those other things. So the right content will answer the question for them of what they need. And then it provides you with the ability to build a great journey and engagement with them. Awareness and access. A grant builds awareness and the tools allow access. If you don't have the tools in place, all of the awareness in the world really isn't going to benefit your organization. And just remember, even though you might have a social media following of thousands, you don't own any of those followers. If all of that was to shut down, and I've seen many times where Facebook and different platforms have closed accounts, you have lost all of those followers. So until you get them into your database through either an email capture landing page or any way that you can get them to sign up for your database, that is how you get them so that you now have a full-time 100% access to contacting them. Tools that you want to use are landing pages. Make sure you have your customer relation management tool integration. So when it does click and they add and download or get whatever resource you have, and now you have their name and email, that there is a way that you automatically respond to them, that you're speaking to them, that it becomes personal. And then make sure that you have payment portals on your website. Didn't talk much about that. Just know that digital payments and online giving is skyrocketing. In fact, on December 31st is the day that the highest amount of digital giving throughout all 365 days out of the year. That is the day that most people do a digital giving. But also digital giving has exponentially increased over mobile platforms and online giving because people are now used to it and trust it more. So make sure you have those portals. Remember, in addition to your Google Ad Grant, use all of your communication channels to send them back to your website. Do those blogs and have them come and read those communication upgrades and things. But also, when you're using social platforms, emails, always include your URL and say, go check this out. Hopefully you're sending them to a specific landing page, but always put the URL in there and say, if you need more information, go to the website. You want that to become a habit, just a way of doing business. Finally, use them all. I've talked about content, how it can increase branding, engagement, awareness, increasing your funds. But I've put these other 4 bubbles. What ways can you think of to use them? How can you create other feeders or landing pages or information? That's your task now, is to come up with additional strategies to increase your website's use and make it work more for you. And remember, you have a goal, which is a tactic versus a strategy. Marketing provides the platform, tools, and strategies, whereas fundraising is the act. It's the tactic of raising funds. That is just a term. And unless you apply strategies of how you're going to do fundraising, it stays as just a tactic, a thought, or an idea. You have to apply strategies in order to achieve it. Is this you right now? I know I presented a lot of information, and you're probably on information overload, but be assured that I'll be back every other month with this training. So if you need to revisit and come back and listen to me again, and also on alternately months, second Wednesday of every month, I'll be going in depth in some of these other topics. But we can help with some of your website needs and help put that puzzle together, because we want you to have your website together first. That's what we want to look at first. We want you to stop losing $10,000 per month in ads because your website is not ready. We want to help you focus on getting your website ready. First of all, we want to offer to you 20 essential elements for effective websites. It's just a free checklist. Like I mentioned, there's checklists that you can submit or share. This is a checklist I want to share with you. You can find it at gagwebsites.now.site and just download it for free. On that site, there's also additional information that you might want to check out. So I want you to think about what other things we might be able to do for you. I've already mentioned I'm a nonprofit specialist. I can talk about board development, starting a nonprofit, marketing. I really like to focus on the startup 501c3, where we're just filing all that paperwork. That's what I do. And then as an organization, the Philanthropreneur Foundation, our mission statement is to build nonprofit capacity through education, awareness, and resources. And there's a lot of things that you can find on our website. I can help you create lead magnet designs and concepts. I love being creative and would love to help you do that. And we also have Google Ad Grant services. That means we can help you first assess whether or not your website is ready. Then we can do it for you and walk and get the approval for the ad grant. And then finally, we can provide you with ad manager services, so that they create all of the campaigns and you get what you need so that you can remain focused on your mission. And I would invite you, let's chat. Just reach out and grab a date on my calendar, drvictoriaboyd.com/book me. And I would love to talk about what your needs might be. It has been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to coming back again with more Google Ad Grant tips and strategies. Once again, Dr. Victoria Boyd, president of the Philanthropreneur Foundation, and this has been our Google Ad Grant training. See you next time.